Okay, very good afternoon to Rajiv, Mr. Ramesh Saraugi Saab,
Hello.
the President of the Bharat Chamber of Commerce, and all those who have joined today's this web conference organized by the Bharat Chamber of Commerce. At the outset, let me first thank you for organizing this session on transformation in real estate and urban infrastructure, such an important subject. But before I take up that, let me first congratulate you for the 121 years and more you have been in being in this as a chamber of commerce for the Eastern India. I mean, your role has been so important. I mean, this shows the kind of ecosystem the chamber has. It has continued for such a long time. I wish you all the very best to continue for much longer time. Also, let me congratulate only yesterday, Government of West Bengal notified RERA rules. This is a complete transformation in the real estate. You may be aware that on 4th of May 2021, only few months back, Honorable Supreme Court struck down the real estate legislation by the government of West Bengal called HIRA, which is Housing Industry Regulation Act of 2017. Honorable Court said that this law was unconstitutional and repugnant to RERA and directed that the RERA be instituted in government of West Bengal. So now the government has come with the rules, and I'm very sure very soon the new authority will come up, the new tribunal will come up, the new website will come up, and it will open up a new era in real estate in the West Bengal. I'm saying so because this directly impacts the many home buyers who are from the state. They will be having a very transparent, accountable system of the real estate business. I mean, they will be getting what they are being promised in terms of the area of the building, in terms of the cost of the building, in terms of the time of the building for completion, and everything for which they have been duped by the real estate at some point of time. This will also bring confidence in the sector, the kind of respect the real estate sector has. I mean, you may be aware when the government of India legislated this law in 2016, many went to the courts, different courts across the country, and Honorable Supreme Court consolidated all the cases which were filed in different high courts of the country. In Mumbai High Court, there was a long drawn discussion. I think I remember almost for 1 month hearing was there every day. I mean, kind of thing is a day-to-day hearing, and ultimately in December 2017, Honorable High Court of Mumbai made a historic judgment where it held RERA to be constitutional, and it also directed this to be applied across the country. And thereafter, the whole real estate sector, I mean, at that time there was a lot of opposition, but now whenever I go to any forum, whether it is NAREDCO, CREDAI, or any local forum, everybody has liked the way this has made the kind of difference to the real estate. I'm very happy to say that other than state of Nagaland, where there are some issues of the land because of the local law, all states, now including West Bengal, has got RERA rules. Most of the states have got the RERA authorities. I mean, the new states which have joined recently, they will be instituting that authority. Most states have got their tribunals, and the number of grievances, number of cases which has been settled by RERA runs in more than 70,000. The total number of the real estate bodies which have been registered, real estate projects which have been registered under the RERA, that is around 67,000 plus. The number of real estate agents which are registered are almost touching 60,000. So this is the kind of thing which this RERA has made a difference, and this I'm sure the citizens of West Bengal, the home buyers of West Bengal, who had agitated before the Honorable Supreme Court against HERA, they will be all benefited by what the present government has legislated now, and they are on move to institute the whole system, whole ecosystem through which a good, honest, transparent system can be instituted for everybody, whether it is for the home buyers, whether it is for the real estate developers or the builders, or whether it is for the bankers, who are another important stakeholder in the system. When this subject of transformation in the real estate, let me tell you, this is very, very important to the Indian economy. Currently, its contribution is almost like 7% to the GDP, and it is likely to the way it is growing. I mean, I'm talking about pre-pandemic, because pandemic during March 20 to say September, October 2020, and another one which came up in April to say June 2021. Both these pandemic, both instances have had some setbacks, but as rightly mentioned by my friend Raji, who happens to be my batchmate from another service, and also mentioned by Mr. Ramesh Saraogi, that already we had experienced the real estate was coming back in the first quarter of the year 2021. The total number of sales, the total number of the announcements, allotments, they were better than what it was in the same quarter in the year 2020. That shows the resilience of the sector. The sector which is contributing 7% of the GDP and likely to grow to 10% of the GDP, to contribute around $1 trillion to the Indian economy. The sector which employs more than 5.5 crore workers across the country, and which is likely to grow to something like 6.7 to 6.8 crores in the next few years. The sector which directly or indirectly impacts more than 200 different kinds of industry, it is so much important to the Indian economy. Rightly so, right from the beginning, from 2014 onwards, please, you can review all the budget announcement, the very first in 2014, which was immediately after the new government came. From then onwards till the last one which came in 2021, there was not a budget where the Honorable Finance Minister made various kinds of announcement which directly impacts the whole of the real estate sector. That shows the kind of importance the government has given, and that shows that despite the challenges, despite there has been a slowdown, not in India but across the world, there has been a slowdown, yet the Indian real estate sector has grown. There have been number of reforms apart from what has come through the our budget announcement. There have been number of reforms in the sector, and that is also holding the ground. For example, RERA itself is a huge reform. People say era before RERA and the era after RERA. Prior to the RERA coming into force in the year 2016, and really after December 2017, when all the storms in the courts and the various courts that they were all settled. So this sector had various kinds of, did not have that, was not having that kind of a reputation where anybody would like, a young graduate would like to enter and prosper there. But now RERA has created a good ground through which now it has become aspirational. It's a very, very important sector. RERA has made the real estate sector, it has given such an important position that now many young aspiring graduates, I meet them on different platforms wherever I go, that they want to seek their career into the real estate because they are sure what is being promised will be delivered, the money flow will be ascertained. I mean, all these things, there are a lot of things, a lot of reforms which has happened that has given that confidence. Another major reforms which has come after RERA, the recent reform. I think the mention was made by Mr. Saraogi about large number of housing which is lying vacant in different parts of the country. Let me share with you that our census 2011 mentions that nearly 1.1 crore houses across the country were lying vacant. On the other hand, a technical task force was created by the erstwhile Planning Commission in the year 2009-10, and the report came in the year 2011-12, and the report mentions that nearly 1.8 crore people do not have houses or they are living in adequate housing. So it's like there is a flood on one side, on the other side there is a drought. And why was that? Because our rental laws were so, they were, most of them had come in the year 50s, 60s, 70s, and they were not supporting, they were not creating a kind of a conducive environment where anybody who has a surplus housing would like to put that on the rental, or whether a rental housing or a rental commercial space. They were afraid that once you give it on rental, possibly it will never come back. Possibly you will have much bigger loss. So it is better to hold that house or hold that commercial space without any use. It's like a dead money. It's like a money which has been invested and not making any business in the economy. I think Rajiv will understand, all of you with a kind of a background in economics will understand that is a dead investment. That was the scenario. Very recently, the Union Cabinet has come out with a Model Tenancy Act. And this Model Tenancy Act has been circulated to all the states. This Model Tenancy Act has not come of its own. It has come up through the national consultation process, a huge consultation process in the last 4 years. I have a testimony to that because I'm deeply involved in the whole exercise. We had gone to the states many times. We have gone to the public through our website and the other media and taken their advice, taken their comments. We have gone to the various stakeholders like NAREDCO, CREDAI, and other chambers who have stakes in the real estate sector, and taken everybody's comments and advices, and based on that, a very simple legislation, which is a state legislation, a model act for that was prepared, and this model act was approved by the Union Cabinet, and it has been circulated to the states only last month. And I've had a meeting with all the state governments, couple of meetings I've had, and we are following with the state government because ultimately they have to legislate. The beauty of this law is this is going to operate from prospectively. It is not going to be operational retrospectively. Those properties which were already under rental, they have a choice. The rentee and the renter have a choice to enter into the new law. Otherwise, they continue to be under the old law. They are not forced to enter into this law. Two, this law is not only for the urban area, like the earlier rent control acts. This law is for the rural as well as the urban area. Now you are all aware, the way the country is urbanizing, our cities are growing very fast. It was mentioned by Mr. Saraogi that our population was rightly mentioned is around 45 to 46 crore right now. It was around 38 crore in the year 2011, and it is likely to grow above 87 crore, almost like 88 crore by 2051. That means we are going to add another 40 crore people. And where do we accommodate them? We'll have to accommodate them through the new city. We have to accommodate them through the new extensions of the existing cities. We have to accommodate them through the redevelopment of the existing cities. I mean, a lot of there will be various kinds of studies which will follow, and through that we'll have to accommodate all this new population which is going to enter into the urban areas, and we are going to become majorly an urban country. Now, with this kind of a huge change, this law, this law allows, because there are a lot of areas which are called peri-urban, beyond the rural, beyond the urban area, where the developments are all regulated under urban development laws, and there again the rental could be regulated under that. Here the relationship between the renter and rentee is balanced. There is no favor to anyone. It's a completely market based. I mean, the rates have to be decided by the market, and every rent has to be registered. Every rent has to be communicated to the rent authority. The legal system, which was such a huge challenge in the old system, has been made so simple through a rent court and through a rent tribunal that things will move much faster. So think that a lot of changes. I'll request the members of the chamber. You may like to, because this law is available on our website, and we have requested all the states. I'm sure the government of West Bengal must be working on it, because I've had a couple of meetings with all the states, and they will soon come up with either amending their existing law or coming with a new law. This law is going to open up a huge possibility of people entering into the market only for the rental business, which I've seen across the globe. People do come into for the rental market, whereas for a specific segment, maybe for the students, hostels by the private sector, maybe for the young professionals, maybe for the young ladies. There's the various kinds of segments will be there. Maybe for the old persons. The old living home. These things, these challenges were there in the market because of the law. The very, very difficult law it was. But now with the new law, this is going to make a big difference. There has been another reform, which is on ease of doing business in construction permits. You'll be happy to know that in the year, because I'm here in this ministry for almost more than 7 years, not almost, more than 7 years. I was additional secretary. I joined here in July 2014, and now it is over at that date, 11 July, I joined here. So I'm fully aware of what has happened across in this sector. In 2016, our rank in the World Bank ease of doing business in construction permit was 186 out of 190 countries. It's a fifth from the bottom. And today, I'm happy to share with you, in the last year's assessment, our rank was 27. We have jumped 159 places. And this year, I'm sure whenever the results are announced, the results were going to be announced in the month of June, but for some reason, there are a lot of challenges are going on across the globe. For some reason, these results have been postponed, but I'm very confident whenever the results are announced, we are going to be among top 20. And well, this reform, Honorable Prime Minister, who is so focused on, because of, I think it's all his vision that in the real estate sector, so much of changes has been done. So much of changes in ease of doing business in the whole sector. Not only in construction, everywhere it has been done. And this construction permit, its direction was that it is not only the cities of Delhi and Mumbai which are part of the ease of doing business assessment by the World Bank. They do not consider other cities for the assessment. Why this benefit should be there only for the 2 cities? This benefit should go to all the cities. And I'm happy to share with you that today 16 states or the Union Territories have got all their cities on the ease of doing business in construction permits. It's a completely seamless. It's that you apply online, assessment online. It's a seamless integration, and you get your approvals online, whether it is for approval of the map or whether it is getting the final permission for occupancy and the completion of the project. So all these things are completely online. Already more than 2,535 cities among the 4,400 cities we have across the country, they have got this online building permission system. Not, there are few in West Bengal, but not all of them. But we are pursuing with all the states that we have to go for 100% ease of doing business in construction permit. That is a very, very huge reform. It helps you directly as a builder, directly as a developer, or it helps you directly as a beneficiary. Every individual household, they go for getting their building permissions approval, and they face huge challenges. It takes months and years, but now it is guaranteed within 30 days, and there are certain liabilities fixed if it is delayed. So that's the kind of thing we are moving in. Well, this is what I'm talking about, the reforms. The another area which has been taken care of, through this, is the programmatic interventions. Think of it, the government of India, Honorable Prime Minister envisioned then when the country is going to celebrate 75th year of Indian independence, that is the year from now, 15th August 2022, nobody should be houseless. When this announcement was made in 2014, through his speech in the from the Red Fort to my ministry when we took a preliminary requirement, preliminary assessment from the states, what will be the demand. The preliminary assessment came to 1 crore, and later the detailed assessment came to 1.12 crore. No part of the world, in nowhere, this kind of a construction activity had been taken up at any point of time in the human history. Even in our country, under the JNNURM, Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission, the total number of the projects sanctioned during 2004 to 2014 in 10 years were 12.5 lakhs. But what was completed was only 8 lakhs. And you take up a target by 2022 to deliver 1.12 crore, it just looked quite impossible. But under the Honorable Prime Minister's guidance, such an ecosystem was developed that I'm happy to share with you that we have already sanctioned 1.13 crore houses. We have already grounded more than 84 lakhs houses for construction. We have already completed and delivered more than 50 lakhs houses to the beneficiaries. That's a big achievement. I think we have already sent to the states more than 1 lakh crores as a central assistance, and our commitment is 1.82 lakhs crores. The total funds which are going to be invested under the housing sector is to the tune of nearly 7.4 lakhs crores. And already the houses which have been completed, we have consumed something like 400 lakhs metric ton of the cement, nearly 80 lakhs metric tons of the steel. And think of it, the kind of economic activity it has generated across the country. And we are poised to complete all this, not in 2022. This looks very difficult because of the two pandemics we have faced in the recent past. But in another 1 year or so, we are very much online to complete all this 113 crore houses across the country. The states, very recently, you may be aware, being part of the real estate sector, that we set 100-day challenge to the state, and the states are working very fast for the completion, for grounding those which have been sanctioned. You may be aware that on 1st of January of this year, Honorable Prime Minister laid foundation, along with the concerned Chief Minister, laid foundation of 6 construction technology coming in our country for the first time. In the city of Chennai, in the city of Rajkot, in the city of Indore, in the city of Lucknow, in the city of Ranchi, in the city of Agartala, these 6 cities which were selected through the process of challenge, one in each region. The challenge was given to all the cities and the states, and based on the challenge, these 6 cities were selected, and all these 6 places, 6 different kind of technologies. The technology where 6 to 14 story building of more than 1,000 flats are ready to be delivered in 6 to 8 months. These are technology which are resource efficient, which are climate resilient, which takes care of the vagaries of say earthquake, which are they are kind of a very rapidly constructible technology. I invite you. We have registered as the Technograhi. Large number of people, I think nearly 15,000 people have already registered as Technograhi, and they are seeing things, how things are progressing in these places, different kind of technology. I just share with you at the city of Ranchi, the technology is such as if you make the whole house, one full house, you make it and just put one by one, like the children play the Lego. The houses are constructed like that. In Chennai, it's like you make your staircase, you make the beams, you make the roof, you make the walls, and you just join them on the site. How this is done is like a factory, and it is this factory is producing something which is assembled on the site, and these houses are going to be much more robust. Their longevity is much higher. Their repairing, there much less repair requirement with there, much less maintenance requirement with there, and I think these are the technologies of the future. We have set up 5 places, affordable sustainable housing accelerators in 4 IITs, IIT of Chennai, IIT of Mumbai, IIT Roorkee, IIT Kharagpur, and NBRI at Jorhat. That is for the north state. where we are encouraging the youth, the young people, the creative people to come out with a new technology, new process, new building materials, so that that becomes the technology for future. We don't have to depend from outside. There are a lot of changes with the real estate sector. We have got this Naurit program where the 54 technologies which were selected, which participated in a global housing technology challenge, which was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister in March 2019. All these 54 technologies are being taught to the people. They are getting acquainted, they are getting aware of these new technologies through School of Planning and Architecture Delhi and BMTPC, which is an organization under my ministry. So this is the kind of an intervention which are being done so that we are future ready for the new technology. We are going to organize the Construction Technology India 2022 next year, where we are going to showcase not only these 6 technology, but the new development by our youth. A lot of new things are coming up because they are getting that kind of ecosystem where they can produce things for the future. So this is on the technology front. There's been during the pandemic, when the whole world was going through the challenge, Mr. Saraugi mentioned about the technology. I mean, the many things happened when the world was facing crime out of the pandemic. In my ministry, we launched 2 new schemes. One was for the street vendors, PM Swanidhi scheme, and it's completely digital solution, end-to-end digital solution. And I'm happy to share with you that despite the pandemic challenges, we have already benefited more than 23 lakhs street vendors. The technology, the wonder has been done through the technology. We launched under the Atmanirbhar Bharat a scheme called affordable rental housing complexes, and this affordable rental housing complexes for the first time conceived in independent India, where we can provide housing to the urban poor and the urban migrant at a rate which most of them were living in kind of a slums or living in informal settlements. So this housing, this already become so popular that more than almost like 3,000 houses are already under rental. Nearly 6,000 are under they are under certain processes where they'll be converted into the rental housing. And we have already got subscription from the public and the private sector for more than 100,000 houses, rental houses across the country in different cities. So this is the new India. These are the changes which are being seen in the new India. If you see in terms of the fiscal and financial, I think, as I mentioned in the beginning, there are plenty of changes, whether it is for the GST, whether it is for the income tax, whether it is for corporate tax, various kinds of changes. I don't have to narrate. All these things are available in the public domain. You can see the kind of changes. Even for the affordable sector, the income tax rate was reduced to just 1% without input tax credit. For the affordable sector, investment in this sector was made without income tax. Those who are investing in it, this has been extended up to 31st of March 2022. This sector, real estate sector, has been given the infrastructure status, and it gets the benefit out of the infrastructure status. There is this gets a FDI is through the automatic route. There's a lot of money flow from the foreign. The REIT ecosystem has been allowed, and it has been given certain concessions under the financial support. So there have been so many changes on the financial fiscal. There was the Affordable Housing Fund, which was created in the year 2016, and that is providing help for the affordable sector, where the loan coming from the NBFCs, that could be diluted, the interest rate could be diluted using the backlog left from the priority sector lending. We have a National Housing Fund, which has been created so as to fund the PMAY, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So all these changes have been done so as to promote the housing and the real estate sector. And not only this, what you are mentioning, things like the Swachh Bharat Mission, the difference you could see. Wherever you are listening me from, whatever city you are coming from, you can see the kind of change the cities have undergone, whether in terms of open defecation free. Again, let me congratulate the government of West Bengal was the only one where 12 cities were not open defecation free. Recently, they have communicated that 9 of them have also become ODF, and another 3 are going to become in the next month before 15th of August 2022. Otherwise, the rest of the country was completely open defecation free by October 2019, the date which was announced by the Honorable Prime Minister in his speech from the Red Fort on 15th August 2014, or when he made announcement, when he launched the scheme Swachh Bharat Mission in October 2014. So there have been so much of change from there. From the infrastructure front, there is so much of investment in water, especially the 500 cities whose population is more than 100,000. In terms of the sewer system, I don't have time to share all these numbers, but all these numbers are in the public domain and for anybody to see. The changes with the smart cities have brought, I mean, something, a concept which we did not even know. Only yesterday I gave awards, announced award for 25 cities for Cycle for Change. Something of this kind was not even thinkable few years back, but now the smart cities has created an ecosystem wherein the cities for future, what our citizens, how to make the cities citizen centric, how to make the cities good livable places for the citizens, how to make the cities sustainable, how to improve the livability and the economic abilities of the city. The plenty of programs to the smart city mission, lot of learning of these 100 cities. You can see the changes in the new town Kolkata where you are living. You may interact with our new town Kolkata and find out the kind of changes the smart city has brought to the new town Kolkata and how that can become a motivation and aspiration to the rest of the cities in the state of West Bengal. On the infrastructure front, in terms of the metro, the total metro running before 2014 was only 240 kilometers. But today we have got 725 kilometers of metro running in 18 cities. And the total number of metro under construction is nearly 1060 kilometers across the country. We are totally Atmanirbhar on many aspects of the metro. We have come out with the new things like Metro Light and the Metro New, the water metro. Various things which has the country has brought the Atmanirbhar Bharat. This something like our national common mobility card happening for the first time. Driverless train which was launched by the Honorable Prime Minister very recently in Delhi on the one line of the Delhi metro, and another line is getting ready very soon to become a driverless metro. We are going to be the highest driverless metro line across the globe in any city, any country. So this is the new India. The NIP which was mentioned. Out of the total NIP of the size of 110 lakhs, 110,000 crores, 110 lakhs crores, the total NIP size, my ministry accounts for nearly 16% of that, 14.5 lakhs crore. That's my ministry. My ministry has already invested more than 12 lakhs crore in the last 6-7 years. So the kind of investment which is happening, and it is happening because the whole country is working like a team. The center, state, and the urban local bodies are working like a team to bring a better future, to bring ease in living to the citizens across the country. In fact, ease of living index, for the first time it was announced, it came up in 2019, again in 2021. It is for you to see. You can see it on our website, ease of living index. You can see the municipal performance index. You can see the kind of digital promotion which has been done. Now we have come up with the National Urban Digital Mission, through which we want to get all our cities totally on the digital mode. So this is the kind of changes which the country is undergoing, and this is moving towards the new urban India. This is what the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister. For the first time, the urban area which are, where we face so many challenges, the challenges due to congestion, challenges due to various infrastructure, lacking infrastructure. These challenges have been converted into opportunities, and there's huge investment is happening in the urban area. And I think this opens up the economy. It helps the economy in a big way. So I think this the transformation of the real estate and the urban infrastructure, for which you have invited me to talk to the chamber. I think there's a huge possibility. You can discuss, you can see, and you can be participant. You can participate in the whole transformation in your city, in your state, in the country, by making India a better place to live by bringing India, I mean, from the developing to the developed country, and the new India, which is mentioned at times by the Honorable Prime Minister, the new India, which provides the India of opportunities, where there is no corruption, where there is the India which is clean, where there is no differentiation. I mean, a lot of things which are there, and it is I and you and the various stakeholders together who have to make this difference. I again thank you, this whole chamber, for this, and I'm sure you will all work towards making this country Atmanirbhar. Wish you all the very best. Thank you for giving this opportunity to talk to you. Thank you.
A very good afternoon, sir. Thank you so much for such a crisp and insightful discourse to the chamber. I'm Apur Salarpuria. I'm the head of the housing subcommittee within the chamber, sir. If your schedule permits, sir, can we allow a couple of questions? Hello? Sir, can we allow a couple of questions?
Well, I've got a meeting at 4, so I may not have time. I mean, this is, it was started quite late. I started talking only at around 3:30, and I've taken around 25 minutes. So it's close to 4, and 4 o'clock I have a meeting scheduled. So,
I appreciate, sir. Yeah. I appreciate, sir. In that case, sir, I'll just like to, recollect a few observations from your speech and propose a vote of thanks, if you so allow.
Yeah, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Right. So, Shri Durga Shankar Mishra, Secretary, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, Government of India. Sir, thank you so much for taking time out and sharing such a crisp and insightful discourse with